Hello, I'm Antoinette, and welcome to Chick Chat and Chili. we changed the name because the studio's colder and Laura's cold, and the rest of us are fine. So, anyway, I'm Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This. It's a full service design firm. We help your brand and your identity and do all the things you want it to do to attract customers, to grow your business. We worked with such global brands as Snapple and Unilever and everything in between, the small mom and pop on up. We want to treat everybody. Every brand deserves its voice, and we love to give it to that. But let me introduce Laura, my co-host.
Hi, I'm Laura Fickett. I am the owner of Fickett Financial Coaching, where I love to help people make more money, manage it better, retain it to build their wealth. I am chilly today. If you see me starting to wear a sweater, it means that they're like putting the AC here at like 65. But I don't want your finances to be on ice. I want you to be able to spend them freely and enjoy what money has to offer. It's a 6-inch piece of paper, and I like to help people develop a better relationship with money so they can attain wealth. And if you're born, somebody said, and I apologize, I can't give credit to this quote because I'm not exactly sure who said it, but if you're born poor, not your fault. If you die poor, it is your fault. And so let's make it happen. I do free consultations. And today, we're not going to be talking about finances. We're actually going to be talking about intimacy. I'm going to use that as like the nice word. I have like this song in my head that we don't have the rights to, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe you can get it. Maybe you can get it from that little hum. But Antoinette and I decided it's a hot topic for people. The way guys think versus girls, and the way, the way people are intimate with each other, that whether they're married or not married. And so we wanted to discuss it. And I know one of the things for me is, as a married person, that, I know what God's design is for marriage, and God's design is for intimacy in a marriage. And sometimes, like, I playfully use that to my advantage because I'm like, well, technically your body is my body. And it's like, dude. But I think that the way girls and guys think about intimacy is completely different. Like, there's all kinds of myths and stereotypes. For example, one that I have heard, and I'm sure everybody has heard, is that married people don't do it as often as non-married people. And I'm thinking, like, who came up with that one? Like, that had to be somebody that totally didn't like to do it and was like, I'm going to spread this nasty rumor about what's going on. Because I think, when you easily have somebody laying next to you all the time with a ring on their finger, you have easy access to do it more. So I think that one is a huge myth.
Yeah.
The other one that I've heard is like, oh, well, I think society put this out there. I think this myth was probably spread by men, that like, oh, men like to do it more than women. And I haven't found that to be true in my friend group either. So like, I don't know. What other myths have you heard? Like those, you've heard those two, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many. But I mean, also too, I think intimacy means different things to people. Like, I think a lot of times you say intimacy and people think sex.
Oh yeah.
And
let's just go right to the end.
Yeah. and sometimes intimacy is everything. It could be, a conversation. It could be, non-sexual contact. There's so many different things that are involved in intimacy where, if you start down a road, it doesn't necessarily have to equal to sex. Or I think that's kind of a myth people have, that, if you start A, it's going to go to Z.
And I wonder if that's like guys versus girls, because I think women need to be invested mentally in a situation in order to be intimate, or at least, I mean, I know for me. So I could be like a sexual camel and go like years and years and years if I wanted to, if I didn't have an object for my affection. Thankfully I do. I love my husband a lot. And so, but I think like mentally, if I'm not there, then like I don't have any kind of feelings. I think guys, maybe the mental, and I'm not, obviously not a guy, and so I can't really speak for guys, but I have 4 brothers. I used to shoot archery with a lot of guys. I've heard guy talk, and I think for them, I think maybe their brain shuts off, actually. Like our brain turns on and theirs turns off. I think that's some God's cruel joke, I guess. I don't know about.
No, I think they have definitely an easier time disassociating like sex and love or I think more so than women. And I think women who pretend, and I think that's what they're doing, that it doesn't matter. I think they're just fooling themselves because in the end, I see women that are like, oh, I could do, but then they'll get hurt or it's a way to safeguard themselves from getting hurt. But I think that's definitely true.
Well, you tell me who said this? Somebody actually said this to me. Somebody said, who I love in my bed and who I love in my heart can be two different people, guy or girl.
Definitely guy.
Definitely guy. Right? I mean, like, oh, I don't think a girl would ever think that.
No. No. And I know for me, like, the one thing when I was thinking about, like, when we said we're going to say this topic, like, for me, my love language is touch, so, like, I think a guy hears that and they're like, oh, she's a crazy nymphomaniac. And that may or may not be true, but...
Oh. See, when we were talking about this topic, my first thought was, what is Antoinette going to say? So it's like...
No, but that isn't the... So anyway, but my love language is touch. So for me, for example, if I'm, let's say, on the couch watching TV, which I don't do, but if I'm just laying there watching TV and my significant other walks in the room and they don't sit like next to me or on top of me, like where they're just like right there touching me and they decide to sit in a chair like across the room, I would feel dejected. Like I would literally feel like, oh my God, he hates me. What did I do wrong? Like I just need them close to me. And that doesn't mean anything other than like, if like the way I show affection is to like, if someone is hurting, my first instinct is to hug them, and I dated two guys in my life that clearly touch was not their love language. And I remember I was at a concert with one and we were listening to songs and I'm like, I kind of like was rubbing my fingers like down his arms and scratching his back. And he's like standing like this. And I go, are you even enjoying this? Like he looked like he was in pain or something. And he's like, no, this feels good. And I'm like, really? Because I feel like a molester. Like, I just, and like,
I feel like it's on the kiss cam and like his girlfriend might be watching.
I don't know.
Like, doesn't want you to touch it.
But I'm like, I just, after that, I refuse to feel like a molester in my own relationship. Like, and I think, I can't even say it's guy versus girl because I had a hairdresser who said the same thing. Like, she goes, my boyfriend's always trying to touch me. And I'm like, I just want to watch TV without you near me.
I know. I think it's important for people to know the love language, like, or if people like it or people don't. I like you. I like to be very close, super duper close. My husband talks about the fact that we have a king size bed and really we could just have a twin. But I like to be super close. But I know that he doesn't need that. And so I think that's important. It's not that we can't be together because I like to be super close and he doesn't. It's that I know that he doesn't. I know how he feels about it. And so I don't feel dejected. So I think that's important too. Like to know what the other person needs so you can supply that. So he supplies that, that need for me in other ways. Like if he gets up from the couch or something like that, then he'll give me a kiss on the way by and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Like, and that's part of intimacy. And you know what? I had this discussion and it just popped into my head. Like the word intimacy, I had a discussion with somebody about cheating. Right. And so they were talking to somebody and I said, you're having like intimate discussions with them. In my opinion, that's cheating. Like, you're mentally engaging in conversations with them. I don't care if they're in Uruguay and like you're never actually going to see this person. I think that like that's something you just share with your husband or or your wife or the person that you're with. And they were like, no, it's not. Like we're not going to ever engage in any physical activity. So I think that's like another disconnect for people in like the word intimacy versus I think some people think it's just physical. No, like there's so much more to it than that. And to me, I mean, I try to put myself in the position of if my husband is doing this, like would I be hurt by it? And if he was talking to somebody in Uruguay, by the way, am so bad with geography. I said the word, but I have no idea where Uruguay is. So if you're watching from there, like, thanks, but I actually don't know where you live. This is so bad. But like, I would be offended, right? I would be hurt by the fact that he's sharing that with somebody else. I think that it's something, intimacy to me is something that you only share with the person that you are deeply, that you are in love with.
Yeah. And I think it also, there's a couple things that pop in my head. First is in this world of like online dating. So,
I met my husband online. Did you know that?
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Plenty of fish. The worst. No, I wouldn't.
One less fish.
Nobody woo-woos about Plenty of Fish. I don't even know if it exists still. But
No,
like,
it's still there.
oh, yeah. It should have. I wish it should have went on millionairematch.com. Just saying.
But no, but what I find is like online, you'll start talking with somebody and they'll get into these conversations, which I think it's like a false sense of intimacy where they'll try to ask these really prying questions. And this is someone I haven't even met yet. And I know people are like, oh, what's wrong with you? But I'm like, like, even if we discuss, like, let's say it doesn't even turn into something like really intimate, but you end up sharing a lot and you start learning about each other's, their lives, whatever. Then when you meet, what I was saying is there's like a false sense of intimacy, like they know you and you're really just meeting for the first time.
Yeah, they don't really know you.
And I think a lot of people just end up like jumping to the physical or trying to jump to the physical because of this false sense of intimacy, where it doesn't exist. Or, you'll exchange numbers with a guy, and it got to the point for a while where I'd always have to, okay, here's my number, but under no circumstances, give me a what pick. Like I'll never, if you think I'm asking for one, I'm not. Like, it's not.
My photo album is full.
No, but I think they do that. Like, now it's your turn. I'm like, oh, okay, because you made a stupid decision. Like, no, like
that's like, you show me yours.
I don't know, but it's different. Like, I still haven't even met them. I'm like, I've never even like touched your hand or shared a kiss. I don't want to see your, what. Like,
well, I think technology like ruins it for people now, right? Because would you ever just, this is gonna so date me, but would you ever just walk around like to a store with a Polaroid of your private parts and meet somebody and be like, hey, you want to see my Polaroid? You wouldn't do that. But now that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's strange.
And I think people are more open to like on keyboards or like I do an 8-week workshop. And people say to me, like, do you do Zoom? No, it's just conference call. Because I've actually found that not having their face, just like their voice and whatever, people open up more. And I think with technology, people, they'll text or they'll write things that they would never ask
so true.
Or never say in person.
Yeah.
So that's where you get that false sense of intimacy.
Yeah.
And God's design, I just finished reading the Bible, which it should be so, I know.
That was your New Year's resolution.
It was my goal. It's taken me 53 weeks out of a 52-week Bible study. I know I'm an underachiever, but, but God's design is that you are only physically intimate with the person that you marry. And and I'm not going to be like, okay, like all of you that are not married, that are doing physical stuff, that you should stop. It's, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to judge you. And certainly like I have no room to judge. But I do think once you add that physical, like it changes the dynamic of things. People don't get to know each other first, and they don't get to know whether they want to be physical with someone first. And they jump into the physical, and then they have like mythological feelings, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
They have good feelings about somebody that maybe once you get to know them, they don't, and it's hard to disengage after you've had the physical.
Especially for like women, because it's hormonal. Like you get oxytocin and stuff like that, and you'll start bonding to a person that may not be that good for you.
Yeah. And I don't really know why. Like, somebody asked me a while ago, like, why do people just jump there now? And it seems like it's getting worse and worse. Like it's 2025, and it seems like now it could be like first date, go home in bed. Like, it seems like it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I actually don't know why. Like, what is the rush? Like, you're single. Like, what's the, I mean, I don't understand. What's the rush?
I even see, which is funny, like if I'm looking through, let's say, guys' profiles, there's guys that are like, please stop with the sex, like I'm looking for my forever, not a one night stand. Like, for guys to be saying this means
it's gotten really bad.
It's gotten really bad. So and it's just crazy that I think kind of like you said, maybe there's an expectation where people think like that's expected or and it's really not. Like, I've gone on dates and, it doesn't have to go there. It's really, you set the pace. And a lot of times too, even with what you put out before you even meet a person, or if you're meeting online, like if your photos are you in lingerie with your butt cheeks up and that's your profile picture, guys aren't really thinking marriage material. Like, they're.
Oh, I thought that was the guy profile.
I did see one once, which was funny, where a guy's like, it's meant to be if you like how I look in a one piece, and there was a picture of a guy in like a one piece thong. I was just like, yeah, no. I'm sorry if you're listening, but
yeah,
attractive.
Comment if you're listening. So that'd be funny. I don't know what the rush is. I have thought about it, and I thought, like, well, I hope the scenario isn't that people aren't feeling loved, and that's the quickest way to feel loved. Kind of like, when you're shopping, they say like people want that kind of high of shopping. They want that kind of like surge of good feelings, so they go shopping. Like, I hope that the answer isn't that people aren't feeling loved, and so they go on a date, and then that's the way to quickly feel loved and connected. Because then my next thing is like, okay, you need to fill your heart with Jesus, obviously, and the love from God, and so you don't need to do that. But I can tell you that when I met my husband, for example, and I'm not going to share like all kinds of intimate details, but I did tell him right off the bat, because I met him online, and I already told you the site, which I now know may not be like the best place to find you forever. Thankfully I did. But I told him, I said, listen, we met online, and I just want to tell you up front that whether you think I'm a prude or not, this is not going like to the bedroom tonight. We're not doing anything and I gave him like a period of time, whatever. And I got to know him as to whether or not I wanted to actually show him any more than just my face and my arms. I think I was wearing a t-shirt. So and I think, when a woman does that, it shows patience, it shows respect, and if a man wants to get to know you, like, he's going to get to know you. If what's that old saying, like, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free, kind of stuff. I mean, that still holds true, I think, in 2025, but I don't know what the rush is. And I think you can be intimate with someone without going, we'll use a baseball analogy, without having a home run. And so like, ways that you can be intimate is holding hands. I read an article where like a kid grew up and became an adult and didn't know how to hold hands because he had never had somebody hold his hand as a child. Like, that literally breaks my heart.
Oh,
I know. So I'm wondering, like, are people not having intimacy as children anymore because the families are broken up, and we see less and less like family dinners, and where does it come from? We should have a psychologist call in.
What I kind of think it boils down to is, I think years ago, people understood that if you have goals, that you have to make sacrifices to get to the goals, where I think now people are in that instant gratification phase. And that's why, like, obesity is an all-time high. Like, there's all these things that people don't understand. Like, if you want a fit body, you can't eat the whole chocolate cake. If you want, to look for your forever, you're probably better off not sleeping with everybody on the first date.
Don't give them your whole chocolate cake.
Yeah. your cream pie. No. But I think it's partly that, where people are I'm sorry, Laura.
It's better than whatever.
I was thinking of a different side with the chocolate cake. I had Never mind. But I think a lot of that is that, the need just for self-gratification, and they'll find a way to rationalize why, oh, it's okay because, or I could, it didn't work out and he wasn't good anyway because, and what they don't understand is when you do things like that, it actually does start chipping away at your own self-worth. If you don't value yourself, no one else is going to find the value in you. And I think that's what a lot of people think. They have to give themselves freely, and therefore, nobody has a magical, cream pie that you're all of a sudden people are gonna, like, oh my God, this is,
She's gonna render me speechless for the rest of the podcast. She keeps with the cream pie.
But it's one of those that and it may be also partly because the love at home. I think there's a lot of different factors.
Oh, probably so many.
And even if you look at the media, it's almost like glorified.
Yes.
What is shown on TV now versus even like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, like you couldn't show those things.
No. It's insane. Like, and somebody, I was just watching someone that was talking about the songs that we listen to, right? And it said, like, you would not let this person talk to your significant other or your children or anything this way, but because they pop it along with a good beat.
Yeah.
Like, you'll let them say these things to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. Listen to some of the lyrics on some of the songs. So now it's just become, like you said, like normal. It's been normalized through the media, through movies, through all kinds of stuff that this is okay. And we're further and further away from God's design of a pairing, of a couple, of things like that. And I'm going to give you the accountant cost benefit analysis to physical intimacy.
Oh my God.
Antoinette's on the edge of her seat right now. So I was single for a period of time. I was a single mom. I used to vacation with a friend. And I remember having this conversation. We would go out and we would meet people. She's beautiful. And so she would attract people. And I think I'm not that bad. So anyway, there would be guys, we're on vacation, they want to have like a summer loving happens so fast, whatever. They got grease in their head. So I wouldn't want to do anything with anybody on vacation. And like my friend would be like, oh, why can't, you just have fun, like just enjoy yourself. Or people would say that, and I would be like, listen, this is the cost benefit analysis. Okay. I know. If I brought somebody back to the hotel room and they weren't good, like, okay, the cost of bringing them back, the benefit was not there. Like, so why do it, right? So I couldn't find a way to do that. Now, if I brought somebody back to the hotel room and they were good, I'm on vacation. I'm never going to see them again. And so, like, I don't, then the benefit is not there either because I can't continue to have it. It's kind of like I'm not going to do something that I can't continue to do. And so I couldn't ever find a cost benefit analysis that worked for a one night stand.
Yeah.
So that's the accountant
Yeah,
version to having physical intimacy. I know.
That's
the weird take.
That's the, if I like you, can I keep you?
Right. And so when you apply that to dating, right? I mean, it's the same scenario. Like if I meet somebody and it's not good, then you could say, oh, well, then that's a quick sorting process. I mean, I suppose, but is that the way you want to sort people? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, not really. But like, I always use that cost benefit analysis for like one night stands. Like, why? I can't see the benefit for me. And emotionally, like it's damaging, I think, for people to do that.
Yeah.
But that's the accountant version.
I think it not only, I think, chips away more so, I think, at a female's self-esteem if you're
we can only speak for
yeah but I think also, and I think this is male or female, that if I'm actually meet somebody and let's say they're amazing, like, oh, this is such a nice guy and really like him and he might be the one, but I found out he slept with absolutely everyone on the planet, like the town bicycle, everyone had a ride, like it's not
Oh my
it's
gosh.
not something that I would want, like, oh, I married the bicycle. Like, I don't, or vice versa. Like, I don't think if a guy brought a girl home to meet, his friends and family, and they're like, oh yeah, I had her last week or last, like, I mean, really? Like, I can't imagine that going over well.
Well, okay, we can talk about supply and demand right now. If you give out all the supply, then the demand is less. It's like everything can relate to finances. It's fun with finances all the time with Laura Fickett. No, but it's true. Like how rare is it if you're just giving it out freely to everyone? And I always have to go back to God. God's design is that there are feelings, like you said, there's cortisol and what's the other, oxytocin, and there's all kinds of chemicals that go through your body. And God's design is that certain things should only be shared with one person. And it's for your benefit. Now, I'm not saying like arranged marriages or any of that kind of stuff, but it is for your benefit because you don't realize it. But the more you see someone, you become physical with them, and then it breaks up, and then it happens over and over again. You're repeating a pattern, and every time, like it chips away at a part of you where like you're less and less and less. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just it's damaging.
Yeah.
And so why do you want to continue to do things that are damaging? Intimacy can be, like I said, holding hands, or like you said, rubbing someone's arms, or like just any kind of minor physical touch, like an unexpected kiss.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is important to mention too is I think people get into ruts, where it's the same thing, like, okay, the negligee and lipstick on the bed means, and then it's I think it's really important to mix it up too. And that doesn't mean you have to get the sex swing and, all this crazy stuff. But, you don't want it to get monotonous either. You want to get always have some variety and spice. And it's important that you feel comfortable enough to speak to your partner about this. I know a lot of people that they'll complain to all their friends and never mention it to the person that actually could do something about it, which makes no sense. But I think it's important to have those discussions. And
sometimes I think though people they try something and it doesn't work, and it's the rejection, when people face intimate rejection, is so much harder than any kind of rejection, like job rejection or any other rejection. When you get rejected, emotionally, intimately.
What popped in my head? Do you remember the fried green tomatoes where she wrapped herself in cellophane? Like, if I just spent 5 hours wrapping myself in cellophane and, the guy's like, oh my God, put clothes on.
That rejection is so painful. But if you want the reward, sometimes you do have to put yourself out there and get maybe a little bit of a thicker skin.
Yeah.
But people ask me, we just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary. We've been together 15 years. And people do ask me, how do you keep it, fresh and you're still dating? And I joke with them and I say, I took this test one time, 16 personalities, and I was telling my husband about it, and he's like, that's how many you have? And I'm like, no, it's just a test to figure out what your personality is. But sometimes, there's a playfulness inside of me still, like a child that lingers in there that is playful. And so sometimes I'm just like, oh, well, let's try this and get back to if we were dating right now, what would we be doing? We wouldn't be sitting on the couch just watching a show. We would be having a conversation. We would be getting to know each other more. Just because we've been together 15 years, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't continue to try to get to know my husband. His thoughts, I'm hoping, have evolved from 15 years.
No, and sometimes too, if you're in the middle of something, maybe sneak a quiet moment and sneak out somewhere or do something. And, if you're feeling it, there's some excitement there. And,
I'm going to address one thing before, because we were getting the We're getting like the hook. We gotta get going over here. But I'm a hunter, and so there's cycles in deer, right? There's the rut. That's when, the male is going after the girl and he's chasing her all over the place. And then like when she gets pregnant and whatever, he kind of leaves her alone, and then she has birth and whatever. And there's this cycle for deer, for mammals. There is a cycle that people don't talk about for people as well. So when, certain times of the month, certain times of the day, you emit certain feelings and certain emotions and certain pheromones and certain all kinds of chemical things. So you have to be in tune, I think, with yourself as to like, okay, at this time of the month, I am more like I want intimacy more. At this time of the month, I want intimacy less. And with your spouse, so that they know, oh, well, they're not rejecting me right now. It's just that's the particular,
they're not feeling good.
That's the particular time when they don't prefer. Yeah. And I think people don't like to address that, especially women. They're like, oh, that time of the month. Well, I mean, let's face it, okay?
Mine's
like
after a big meal. Like
I don't even like to.
My belly hurts.
Yes, right. It could be something like that. But like my clothes don't even look good during that time of the month. I'm like, why did I even buy any of these clothes? Why don't I just put a burlap sack on? Like my feelings are just different. Or when you have a big meal and you're all bloated, or like
the last thing you feel is sexy when you're like, oh, I shouldn't have had that.
Right. So you're not being rejected because I don't want you. You're being rejected because there's too much Thanksgiving in my belly. Like nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know.
Yeah. But I guess we really need to wrap things up. It's so sad.
I'll wrap us up today. Our next topic is intuition. And so when you get that gut feeling and you really, you want to do something, but your gut feeling is like, no. Like we're going to talk about like those times in our lives where, you really should maybe follow your gut intuition. And so until we get to that topic, hopefully you've enjoyed this one. As always, we're going to come back to some of the topics that we've done because this topic was a dynamic topic and we just scratched the surface. So until then, never stop learning
and never stop laughing. See you next week.